Look closely at the skyline of West Java, and you'll see a massive shadow looming over the valley. That is Mount Tangkuban Perahu, a volcano famous for its distinctive boat-like silhouette. Geologists point to ancient volcanic eruptions and collapsing craters to explain those distinct slopes. But the local Sundanese people look at that same terrain and see something else entirely, a human tragedy. Teaching a child how to control their temper is a difficult, uphill battle. Anger is an abstract, volatile emotion, and warnings about its long-term consequences rarely stick with a restless audience. So the ancestors of West Java engineered a practical solution. They tied a critical life lesson directly to the physical landscape, creating a permanent, inescapable reminder. To understand how this works, you have to shrink your view from the sweeping valley down to a single wooden stilt house at the base of the mountain. Here, an elderly woman named Ambu Enah sits by the glow of a lantern, weaving bamboo, while her grandson, Dadan, waits for his nightly bedtime story. This is cultural transmission. The folklore uses magic and talking animals to hook a child's imagination, secretly encoding behavioral rules into their developing brain. By repeating these narratives, a community seamlessly downloads centuries of ancestral intelligence into the next generation. This bedtime ritual operates as a specialized cultural tool, designed to influence behavior and sharpen emotional awareness. The myth begins with Sangkuriang exploding in rage, violently banishing his hunting dog for failing to chase a boar. He had no idea that the animal was actually his own father, trapped under a curse, establishing the story's core premise. Anger completely blinds us to reality. When his mother, Dayang Sumbi, learns what he did, she reacts with her own violent outburst, striking her son in the head with a heavy rice spoon. Confused and betrayed, Sangkuriang flees into the wilderness. He leaves behind a mother broken by grief and shatters their family unit. Both of these disasters were avoidable. The story illustrates how a single, unchecked moment of retaliatory violence creates a compounding cascade of permanent damage. Years later, a grown, unrecognizable Sangkuriang wanders back to his village and immediately falls in love with a woman magically preserved in her youth. It is his mother, Dayang Sumbi. She nearly accepts his marriage proposal, right up until she discovers the old scar from the rice spoon hidden on his head. Terrified, but unable to admit the painful truth of what she did years ago, she attempts to sabotage the wedding by demanding an impossible creation, a massive lake and a gigantic wooden boat, built in a single night. Dayang Sumbi fakes the dawn, tricking Sangkuriang into a blinding rage where he violently kicks the unfinished boat. That massive, flipped hull crashed to the earth and became the mountain. It stands as physical evidence that unbridled fury can instantly destroy whatever we have spent our lives building. Back in the stilt house, the Don processes the tragedy and asks his grandmother a simple question: why didn't she just tell him the truth? Ambu Enah explains that honesty is often difficult and painful, but giving in to deception or allowing rage to take the wheel inevitably ends in ruin. Decades later, Dadan is a grown man facing his own frustrations. When provoked, he glances up at the mountain, using that distinctive shape as a mental trigger to pause and breathe. Linking an abstract emotion to a concrete landmark creates a durable psychological safeguard that remains accessible throughout an individual's life. Now, Dadan brings his own children to the fertile slopes of that very same mountain, recounting the exact same myth. The cycle of cultural transmission restarts. He ensures that this specific framework for emotional regulation will survive for an entirely new generation. Looking across the sprawling tea fields of West Java, you see how deeply intertwined this folklore is with the people who inhabit this region. The legend of Sangkuriang serves as an immortal mechanism for emotional resilience, anchoring a people's collective wisdom to the landscape they call home.